I met today's guest when he enrolled in classes at my New Orleans Comedy Theater. Despite being someone who moved to the city with loads of experience performing on the West Coast, he signed up for our beginners class that went through the entire curriculum. In the process, he became a crowd favorite and a community darling. Ben has made computer games, TV shows, songs, and art installations. I asked him to tell me about a current project he's excited about, and he told me this podcast. I believed him, not because of me or this new project I'm doing, but because Ben is that kind of guy. You may recognize his sweet boy charms as the kind soul who absolutely stole the show on Netflix's Dating Around. Welcome to the show, Ben Samuel. Ben, how are you feeling, my man?
Oh, after that, how can I be feeling anything other than amazing? Chris, that was so kind. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I am doing great. It's so nice to see you. So Ben and I used to see each other on a regular basis because we were performing shows together, but we have not performed a show together. It's about to be it's been over a year by the time you hear this podcast. It's been over a year, and I was just joking before we went on air that Ben was talking to me like he hasn't talked to a single other person all day. You were so excited to be having a conversation, which I don't know if that's because it's been a while since we've hung out, or because you are just so on task right now with what you do for a living. What's going on with you right now, Ben?
Oh! I mean, Chris. Of course, it's because I'm excited to see you, and also it's because everyone is living in their little vacuum worlds with little connection to the outside world. For me, like what's going on right now. So I'm a professor. I'm a professor at the University of New Orleans. And so a lot of my time right now is being spent like preparing classes and giving lectures and blah blah blah. And I imagine this will be a springboard into other conversations, but like that's the short version of what I'm working on
Yeah,
right
can you
now.
quickly tell people what it is that you do? Because to me, you're not just a professor. You are very specific professor, right?
Yeah. So like the way that it works at universities is like you're a professor in a department. And so I'm a professor of computer science. I'm in the computer science department. But everybody like every professor has like a specialty, like what they did their research in, what they got their PhD in, blah 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 blah. And for me, instead of doing normal computer science things like databases or operating systems or I don't know, algorithmic analysis, I when I was a young lad, double majored in computer science and theater arts, and then spent all of my spare time, just basically playing video games.
Yeah.
And so
So you're a
I'm a video game professor. Like I'm a video game professor who studies interactive storytelling and playable experiences and all that jazz. But no, yeah, I study and make video games basically.
that is fascinating. You know, there are so many things that you could do with video games now that I don't think anyone thought was possible, including teaching your course on video games.
Yeah,
Not one course. This is what you do.
yeah. Like game and game adjacent courses. So this semester, for example, I'm teaching artificial intelligence, but then also I'm teaching advanced game development. Like I am teaching a class all about kind of simulating a game studio, trying to give students opportunities to iterate on ideas, come up with playable prototypes, and then eventually form teams around them and spend months making an idea come from brain stuff to actual fruition.
So Ben, let's say that we are stuck in an elevator together and
Yeah.
everyone is passing around business cards, but
Yes.
there's like a lot of time before we're going to be rescued. And so we get to talk about what we're going to do as well, right? Because we got to, we're stuck in this elevator. It sucks. But everyone has like one sentence to say what they do for a living. How do you put in one sentence what it is that you do?
Elevator pitches have never been my strong suit. um, I I say like uh, I'm an assistant professor of computer science that studies interactive storytelling, artificial intelligence, and games. I'm excited to try to. Oh, that we got more. Well, there was a comma. It was maybe a semicolon. But
I can't believe that you don't lead with like video game professor.
Yeah, I mean, so that is. It depends who's on the elevator with me, Chris. Like, not all audiences are necessarily receptive to video game professor.
Fair enough.
There are some people who have like a perception that like video games are a lesser art form or a childish juvenile medium or things like that. And like of course like that exists, right? Of course that is like there are the silly examples, but every medium has that. Every medium has the fluff, has the candy. I like to think of people who like point at some. I don't know. I don't want to pick a game because I think every game has merit in its own way. But pick some like juvenile dumb game or whatever and say, oh, all games are like that. That would be the equivalent of someone saying, picking out Sharknado and saying, yeah, I don't think cinema has much going for it. Like, I don't think movies are particularly, like, worthwhile medium. Like, there's such a range, and we're just at the very beginning of this medium's conception in digital form. I mean, games, of course, have existed for millennia, but, like, video games are just now being studied and developed, and we're finally beginning to understand what they are, and I just think it's such an incredibly exciting, fertile ground, and there's lots of neat stuff coming.
I kind of feel like even if you have never played a video game in your entire life, you still have to understand that it is a major industry and that people care about it and that people get a lot out of like being a part of that community, even if you don't know a single damn thing about it. So I wonder how many people are still actually like that, where they're like, this video game business is juvenile.
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. And if I'm being honest, I don't necessarily know myself. Like, I'm so deep into it, like, I don't even, like, think about that, right? Like, I do kind of generally think, oh, yeah, of course it's great. Oh, of course everyone gets it. But then, like, every now and again, people will just, like, pepper me with those, like, oh, really? Like, what's going on? And I'm suddenly, like, brought down to earth, like, oh, man, no, not everyone's on board yet. So how many people? I don't know, but I do think the number is dwindling every day.
I agree. And look, you said something about being at the beginning of a new. How did you word it? You're like, it's the start of a new generation, or like this.
Oh yeah, it's an art form. It's a whole new medium.
Now hold that thought. A whole new medium. There's something else that I know about you that I want to talk to you about for a little bit. There's another medium that was brand new that you were a part of the very, very beginning of this. It is true. It is a true fact, correct? That you starred in the first ever Hulu project.
Chris, I am honored that you know that and that you're making that connection. Yes, absolutely. So nowadays, oh yeah, Netflix original programming, Hulu original programming. Oh, we just
everyone just knows it, right?
But not that long ago, like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, like those services only showed other people's content, and Hulu first took those baby steps, those initial bold steps into original programming with this show called Battleground, which was kind of a mockumentary dramedy that followed this campaign trail, trying to elect a Wisconsin state senator. And I was a star of that show. So I was, in one of the very, very first streaming services original programming.
I love that. It's one of my favorite fun facts about you. We have a couple fun facts about you, which we're going to get to on the show. But I love that so much. How often do you think about that project, or how many times have you watched it since it happened? Which I know is a funny question to ask somebody. Like, I know all of us who make things that have been on stuff, it's tempting to be like, oh no, those things happen all the time. I don't go back and watch that. But it's like, the truth is, sometimes I go back and watch stuff that we were a part of to remember what it was like, to just relive it or whatever. Where does Battleground sit with current Ben 8 years later?
Chris, yeah. So I I think about it all the time. I miss it all the time, and I'm so glad you brought up. There is kind of this air of like, oh, I don't want to be that guy who's living in the past or thinking about these old projects, but like that was a dream come true. Like I was on a TV show, which for me and maybe for other people, but for me was like a dream ever since I was a kid, and so I got to do it for some form of TV, this new ground of TV.
Back then, it was like, yeah, I'm on a TV show, but it's streaming on this thing called Hulu. But now it's like, yeah, I was on the first ever Hulu show.
Exactly. And the project was just amazing. Like working with everybody, like we all became and remain friends to this day. It was a project that we all really believed in. We thought it had that really nice balance of comedy and drama, had really nice things to say. Not to get too political, but the show is like one of those shows that shows like, it's about young people who believe in the political process and believe that by engaging in democracy, we have the power to make a difference. And that, I think, is a message that was really nice 8 years ago, and I think it's a message that remains nice today. So yeah, it is something that is near and dear to my heart, and that I think will probably remain forever. Now, how often do I watch it? Basically never. I hate watching myself.
Okay, fair enough.
Really hard, but no, it means a lot to me, Chris.
Well, Ben, there was another streaming show that you were on that was also full of comedy and drama and lessons learned and love. Most people listening to this right now probably would recognize you from your appearance on the New Orleans edition of Dating Around, which I know a lot of people have their own early pandemic stories, people remember, when the pandemic first hit, that's when I binge watched this, or that's when I started making cookies, or whatever the thing is. Tiger King is going to be a big pen drop for a lot of people when they're remembering how they entertained themselves when the pandemic hit. But I think a lot of people would consider you to be the true Tiger King, Ben. You were on the New Orleans version of Dating Around. I'm not just saying this because I know you. This is a genuine statement. You really stole the show in some very touching and bizarre ways. So I want to get into it a little bit, not a ton of times. I'm sure that at this point you're like, look, Dating Around was back then, and I'm a new man now.
Look, if I'm holding on to Battleground from 8 years ago, you better believe I'm still holding on to Dating Around.
Fair enough. So, okay, what were your expectations going into this? Because for those, just in case you don't know, Dating Around is just it's kind of I would say it's a brilliantly organized dating show on Netflix that does not have a host, does not have any like confessional shots. It's shot almost documentary style. It's really interesting the way they put it together, and that's its calling card. But also the people can really make or break the show, as is usually true with a dating show, I suppose. But you were a showstopper, my man. So tell me, what were you thinking going into this? What were your expectations?
So yeah. So for those of you who had watched the episode, like my dating backstory is discussed, and basically in my entire life, or at the time of filming, I had only been in one relationship in my life, but that one relationship had lasted for 10 years. It was a dating relationship, but it was a significant portion of my life.
From what age to what age?
God.
1626.
And no. 2030. 2030.
Oh, 2030. Wow.
2333. 2333.
Okay.
Yeah. Ish, around
cool.
there. And so so we broke up. We had broken up at the beginning of 2018, and when I auditioned, or not auditioned, but like heard
applied for the show,
like I had been single for like a couple of years, and enjoying it, like enjoying that lifestyle, but also like kind of always envisioning myself as being like someone who would like have a family or be a dad, be a husband. And like I kind of realized that like I wasn't making those steps. Like I'm saying these things like they're revelatory. No, no, yeah, you it's hard to get married if you're not, meeting people or dating people. And I don't know, like I'm shy and scared of rejection and all of the like normal things that
Right.
many people feel. And for whatever reason, like the thought of being on this show, like it kind of seemed like all of the hard parts of the process would be taken care of for me, right? Like finding the people to date, they would figure it out. Choosing where to eat, they would figure it out. Deciding what I was going to wear, they would figure it out. Like it's this whole like matchmaking process, and all I need to worry about is like just being myself. Like all I need to worry about is just like, hey, I'm gonna like have a nice time without worrying about logistics. And like that all sounded really fun. And this like I've said this to other people, and sometimes I get weird looks, but I also think it's true that like the TV aspect of it, the like camera aspect of it, wasn't scary to me. Like um wasn't
You weren't startled by the cameras and the production element because you have been on stage many times.
exactly but not only that, like it was liberating. Like it wasn't just a lack of fear, it was like embracing it. And part of it was like again chasing that high from battleground, but part of it was also just like it gives you a sense of liberty. I guess tying it back into talking about being a video game professor, it gives it a sense of play. It's like we recognize that dating is this strange bizarre ritual, but yet we kind of like in a normal dating environment, or so I would imagine, I've barely dated at all, you kind of like are forcing yourself to subscribe to these rules. When you're like aware that you're in this like artificial thing, it highlights the natural artificialness of the situation, and by highlighting it, it kind of frees you, I think, to just kind of be yourself and like have more fun. And I was expecting that, or at least I was hoping for that, and I found it was totally the case. It was very Brechtian for those theater folks out there.
Well, some weird stuff happened on on that show. It's really it's very rewatchable. I will say that it's very rewatchable. Looking back on it, Ben, with like when you watch it, or when you think of it, when you put yourself back in that same position, was there anything that you are like, that was so funny, that was so strange? I feel like I was doing a comedy scene because, as we're going to talk about a little bit later, you perform comedy on a regular basis. You teach people how to do comedy. You are a very experienced performer. So, what components of it felt like you were doing, like almost doing a comedy show?
Yeah, I mean, like this this is maybe like a kind of tangential answer, but like there is the just like in a comedy show, like it's so important that you're like listening, right? Like yes and is like the fundamental tenet of that. And like yes and also I think is a recipe for having a successful date, right? Listening to the person and like internalizing it and building off of that and contributing something from your own. So like in that like general idea of just being like together and present with another person, be it a comedy show or a date, like that felt the entire way. I feel like maybe like more like comedy centric to your point. There were moments, and like they didn't always like not, you didn't get the full experience as a audience member, but while I was living in it, there were definitely a lot of callback moments. So like in while I'm on the date with someone, like having an opportunity to make a reference to something that happened like earlier in the date. Maybe one clean example is in the episode that you see, I have like a little like tap dancing session with Kat, and like that's a callback to me talking about how I took tap dancing lessons with my mother when I was like, 10 or whatever, when I was a little kid. And that came up because Kat was a dancer. So earlier in the day, we had like spent a lot of time talking about that. So then she, like, when she challenges me to the tap off, like, that's a callback to that. And we do like the little tap off. And like, I forget if it is in the edit, but like in real life, like we just do that. And like, we're both like a little tipsy. We're both having a really nice time. And like, she says, like, your mom would be proud. And like I thought that was such a nice callback, and like, you know what, my mom was proud.
That's so sweet. I love that. So Ben, before the show, I asked you to tell me like what your number one creative passion is. This is a creativity show. There's a comedy show about creativity, and you told me that you like creating things. Be it a game, an improv piece, or anything that touches on people's emotions while making them laugh. And that really is what you did in Dating Around. I think so many people were really it's some strange combination of being completely weirded out in a good way, in like a funny, like I'm amused way, while being very sweeted out at the same time. I know that you did something very brave, which I actually do not recommend most people do. You were on Twitter responding to people who had found you and were saying things to you. You were so like such a bizarre piece of that show, such a bizarre character, but also you're a real person, such a bizarre character that I think like a lot of people like also were rushing to defend you to anyone who was like coming to just be rude to you, which is like typically people get ratioed, it's like, oh, everyone's coming here to be angry and be mad or be rude. But you had so many people that were just like, that were basically like saying, leave Ben alone, and telling you really nice, sweet, kind things. And did you go one by one answering everyone?
Yeah, for a while. Eventually, I realized it was taking too much time and I had to stop. But yeah, like if people were saying nice things, like that's definitely behavior I want to reward. That's definitely want to encourage that for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I remember there was a time, this does not hold a candle to your appearance, but I was on America's Got Talent doing a little air sex, which was, I was the joke contestant, but I made it through enough tears to where I was actually on the show, and I was flown out to the big sound stage and the interview with Howie Mandel and Howard Stern and all of them. But I mean, I was the joke person. I knew that the whole time, right? But I got caught up afterwards with looking for people that were talking about the weird guy who did air sex on America's Got Talent. It was like, it's a very strange feeling being like, you can type in a couple of words into a social media search engine, and there's going to be a lot of strangers who are saying a lot of different things about you. So I see what you mean. It's like you could get caught up in it really easily, for better or worse.
And I like that flurry, like after the show aired and people were like posting like that, like I tend to not be on social media. Like prior to that, I was on social media and really honestly post that. I have exactly 2 Instagram posts, I believe, and I probably wouldn't have even looked at all. Like I probably wouldn't have even like checked it because I'm terrified, right? Like I thrive on external validation. Words of affirmation are my love language. I'm very sensitive to what people are like saying about me, and I know how people can be on the internet, and so I was planning on just like ignoring it. But the show producers, like the producers of Dating Around, like directly reached out to me and basically said like, you should probably like see what people are saying about you on Twitter and Instagram. Like I think you'll be really happy, Ben. And I really was. So let me take a moment. If you're listening and you're one of the people who wrote something nice about me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Yeah, man, you really crossed over in a really interesting way because I think most people's like knee jerk reaction is like something I haven't seen before, you know, and then they go and hate on it. They go and say rude things about it. And I think that you are definitely something that someone, not something, someone that a lot of people had not seen on their television before. Like the combination of like your story plus your, just your like, I don't know how to say it, like your sense of humor, obviously, and just the way that you were just so genuine and such an interesting dude on that show. And I know I was cheering for you when I was watching it. I had popcorn. I pre-gamed, I tailgated. I was cheering for you so hard. And I know a ton of people were, partially because you are a beloved member of this New Orleans comedy community. And one of the things that you did, and one of your weekly things in the comedy community was you hosted this event called Student Union. Can you explain just real quickly? We're back in the elevator. Explain what Student Union is to someone who does not do improv and has never heard of what you're about to say.
Excellent. I feel like I can do this better than my last elevator pitch. Uh, at a lot of improv theaters, they offer classes, and this class is like a progression system, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll have like a cohort, so you'll go through the whole program together, and that's really wonderful. You get that sense of camaraderie and teamwork with that group of people. But sometimes it's really nice to be able to perform with other people because every single individual that you perform with gives you more perspective, right? It helps bolster your own mind and capacity to play. So improv theaters oftentimes have what are known as improv jams, which are open to everybody or open to students of the theater. And Student Union was our community's improv jam.
Yeah, so anyone could show up. They put their name in a bucket, and then you pull the names out, and those people do a show for the other people who are watching.
Yep.
We never let an audience in, so it was always promoted as a safe space for people who were brand new to the art form to come and get some more stage time and just become, just learn more about the community.
Yeah.
I bring it up because Ben here was the host of it. And I believe this was a long time ago when you first started hosting it, but I believe it was intended as a like trial. Like we should see, like maybe Ben would like this. People like Ben. And then it quickly became like, no one else can do this besides Ben. This has to only be Ben that does this forever because your enthusiasm for community, your energy for supporting new people trying this art form out, and your just commitment to making sure everyone feels welcome, or just all things that every improv theater wishes they had a jam the way that we had our jam, because I'm not saying that it was like the best jam of all time, although it was. I'm not saying Ben is the only person who should ever host an improv jam, but he is. It was a really like such a remarkable experience watching you guide people through something that is very scary for a lot of people, very vulnerable, getting up there and doing improv with strangers. You're a new member of a community, but you were just, what is it about the improv jam, the idea of a jam that is that lights you up?
Yeah, man. I like Chris, honestly, I think you touched on so many of the things. Like it's like I loved people being there for the first time who like were oftentimes feeling a little nervous, but who like showed up, right? And so like they've got the spirit, right? They want to be there. They want to go up, but it's still freaking terrifying. Like it's so easy to like have in your head like, oh, everyone else is so much better than me, or oh, I'm not good enough yet. Oh, I'm just gonna watch. I'm gonna sit this one out. And then like watching them go up there and do it for the first time and realize like, oh my gosh, like I have just as much right to be on the stage as everybody else. Everyone else feels the exact same way. Like, everyone is just full of so much awe and respect and love for one another. And by working together, we all elevate ourselves. We form a gestalt. The sum is greater than our individual contributions to it. And that, like, that is improv jams to me. That is community to me. That is, I don't know. I think that's such a beautiful thing, and that I got to be a part of it. Really, really meant a lot to me. So,
It
thank you,
was,
Chris.
well, thank you. It was, you had a lot to do with the beauty of that. Now, real quick, so I'm going to do a pop out, a breakout video of our conversation right now and put it on the YouTube channel that discusses what every improv jam needs to be successful. So tell me right now, Ben, in your own words, what does every improv jam need to be a successful improv jam?
I how an improv jam achieves this is going to be unique from community to community, but I think what every improv jam needs to be successful is some mechanism to ensure that everyone is going to be heard, that everyone's thoughts are going to be presented. I've been to many improv jams in my life, in my day, and far too often I feel an improv jam is synonymous with people just trying to get out there, tell their joke, like get the quick laugh in, and like everyone is just kind of like, swipe, edit, walk on, like I'm funny, I'm funny, I'm funny. And I think to be successful, the improv jam at the community level needs to like assure everyone you're already funny. We believe you. You don't need to prove anything to any of us. You certainly don't need to prove it to yourself. Let's use this as an opportunity to work together, to listen to each other, and make sure that you yourself are being listened to. And I feel that, like, from there, success comes. I'm going to borrow a quote that is probably super famous, but I don't remember who originated it, but I love saying it myself. Improv in general, and improv jams are no exception, I feel fail when people are so single-mindedly obsessed with chasing the god of comedy. I think instead, people will be better served if they attempt to chase the god of art. And in so doing, you'll catch comedy along the way.
Oh my God, I love that.
Thank you. I didn't come up with it, but we can say that I did for now.
Well, we'll do our best to find out who said that. A couple other quick things that I think every improv jam should have. I love the way that we bring up each individual person with like thunderous applause, and something that you adopted, Ben, is you came up with like you did like a unique introduction for every single person, right? Even if you didn't know them, but if you knew them, it was really good. If you didn't know them, then it was funny that you tried. And that made every individual person, I think, feel really special.
Yeah. So yeah, like there'd be like little nicknames or like little introductions when you would bring people up, and they would like be a little I think what you're getting at, Chris, is this like idea of there being routine but variation within the routine. So it's like, oh yeah, we always announce everybody individually, but what your nickname or what your introductions are going to be changes every day. So that's kind of exciting. There's also like little like slogans or like little like catchphrases. So like at the end of every student union, there would be whatever like closing remarks, and then we would say like, and you know what, I'm gonna say it, this is the best one yet. Thank you for making this one the best one yet. And then like those become like call and responses almost. Those become like inside jokes, so that like the entire audience, the entire community knows it and can like play along, like sing along. And so
Yeah.
like Yeah.
it's always very sweet hearing a theater full of people just say along with you that this was the best student union yet. Very, very sweet. Ben, next segment is called 3.5 Questions. I ask every guest on the show 3.5 questions because I think it's not, in comedy, it's not people will talk about the rule of threes. I get it. To me, it's the
Yeah.
rule of at least three. You got to go at least 3 times. So
Yeah.
I got 3.5 questions for you. I don't want you to overthink these.
Yeah.
I just want you to.
I like that you're like overachieving with more than 3, but like only just barely.
Yeah. Well, we don't want the show to last too long. All right. Ben Samuel, do not overthink these questions, but I got 3.5 questions for you. First one is food fight. What food would you get into a bar fight over?
Pizza.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm like pizza sucks. What you gonna do about it?
Chris, you just haven't had the right kind of pizza.
I've had them all. I've been to Chicago, New York. I've been everywhere.
Well, what toppings have you tried, Chris?
I've pepperoni, sausage, whatever they say the one is. That's what I do.
Okay, Chris. You know what? I am going to respect your decision for not liking pizza, but it's really hard for me.
But you will fight me.
Yeah. But here's my broken bottle.
Great.
So get ready.
All right, question number 2. This is road trip. Trip. Who was on your fantasy road trip and where are you going? Alive or dead? You can put however many people you want in the car. Your choice what car you have, although I don't care what the make and model is. But where are you going and who's with you?
My friends and family.
Is this a bus? Is that all your friends
and
family?
You said you didn't care.
Well, I don't. Where are you going?
We're going to an award ceremony where everyone is being nice to me.
An award ceremony where everyone's being nice to you.
I don't know. I'm not thinking about it. I'm just
this fantasy road trip started off very sweet, including all your friends and family. But now you're making not only a large group of strangers travel together, which is stressful enough as it is, but now we're going to an award show where everyone's being nice to you.
I don't know, Chris. It sounded right at the time.
Hey, it still sounds right to me.
It.
All right, question number 3. This is advice anthem. Okay.
Okay.
2-part question. The first part. Give me some advice, or not me, but share some advice that you have for anyone. Let's say anyone who is starting out in comedy, which is a field that you are accomplished in. So someone wants to get started in comedy. Give them some really simple advice, like 1-sentence advice. I really stumped him.
Don't listen to the negative voices in your head.
Okay, I love that. Now here's the part B. I need you to sing that advice. Okay, I need it to be a recognizable anthem for the people. You can do whatever way you want. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Do not listen to the negative voices that are in your head, because they'll get you down.
Bravo. Oh my God. That was beautiful, Ben.
Thank you.
You really, there are several times in this conversation where you hesitated. That time you barely hesitated and you went right for it. Mm-hmm. You were ready to do that. You loved it.
I love singing. What can I say?
All right. Question 3.5. What's the capital of California?
Oh, Sacramento.
He nailed it, folks. He absolutely nailed it. Round of applause for Ben Samuel. 3.5 questions. I got one more thing for you, Ben, before I let you go today. One more thing. This is a strange one because I teach everyone who comes on the podcast, I teach them an improv exercise because I have a lot of people who have never done improv in their life. They're from other creative backgrounds. Yeah. You're different because we have done a ton of improv together. I don't got to teach you any improv. So instead of that, I want to know, what is your favorite improv exercise that we can do together on the podcast right now?
Oh.
Do you have one?
Wow. There's so many. Like kind of like a student exercise, like something that you would do like when you're first learning, like is what we're looking for.
Sure,
Or
yeah.
uh, uh, let's the exercise where like we go back and forth like saying sentences, but my first sentence or the first part of my sentence is the last thing that you say, to kind of like the one that kind of like forces to make sure that you're listening to the other person.
Okay, so for an example, if I were to say, Mr. Mayor, I got you your hamburger.
My hamburger! I've been so hungry. I've been waiting for this all day. Oh, Jeremy, you are my favorite intern.
Your favorite intern is capable of doing so many things, Mr. Mayor. Not only am I bringing you hamburgers, but I'm also here to rub both of your feet.
Both of my feet, Jeremy! You're gonna spoil me rotten. Most interns don't get this opportunity, but while I eat this hamburger and while you rub both of my feet, I, I've got a press conference coming up. I want you to co-star.
Co-starring press conferences, my ultimate dream. It's what I go to bed every night thinking about. It's what I wake up every morning dreaming about. One endless dream thought of co-starring in a press conference. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Jeremy.
All right, that's Ben Samuel, everybody. Good job, Ben. Thank you for hanging out with me on the show. Thank you for sharing your dating around stories, for talking about video games. I love your, I roasted you, but I love your road trip with all your friends and family. It sounds like one hell of a bus ride, and you made me hungry for some pizza. So thank you for all that you have done. Any final words of wisdom for all the creatives out there listening to the podcast?
Yeah, I'll tie it back into kind of what you were talking about like, oh, on TV, like maybe people see you as like a character. Like, I guess know who you are, right? I am me, and I don't think of myself as a character. Clearly, I think of myself as me, but I'm also like I have like a awareness that like, oh yeah, everyone is a unique individual, and I myself am that too, and like what makes me that, and like lean in, right? Lean into yourself. And also here too, for second piece of advice, follow your bliss. My dad / Joseph Campbell. Like, don't worry so much about the destination. Don't worry so much about where you ultimately end up. Make sure that your day to day is like full of things that you find fulfilling and things that satisfy you. And if you're following your bliss in that way, I understand life gets in the way sometimes, but to the best of your ability, if you're able to follow your bliss, it kind of doesn't matter where you end up, because the entire journey was one that was enjoyable.
I love it. That's Ben Samuel. Thank y'all for listening.